In this series, we're asking the big question, who is God? This question is the question of theology, aka the study of the nature of God. Now, I know theology can sometimes feel kind of intimidating, and I get it. Scholars writing endlessly about an ancient religious text, it's not everybody's idea of a good time. Though to be clear, it's absolutely my idea of a good time. But that's why it's so important when we're asking the question, who is God, that we keep in mind that we're not looking for the right answer, like in math. And we're not looking to prove a hypothesis, like in science. And we're not even trying to understand God's personality, like in psychology. When we practice theology, our goal is more like getting to know a friend really well. We don't dive into theology so that we can be the smartest theology person. We dive in because when we do, God shows up in a real way. So let's dive in and get started with some basics. First of all, what is God like? Over the centuries, theologians have been poring over scripture to come up with the words they think describe God best. They've said that God is holy, which just means that God is set apart or totally fundamentally different from any other created being. Also, God is omniscient, which just means that God knows everything that there is to know, especially what is true. Finally, God is eternal, which means that God doesn't just last forever, but actually exists outside of time as we know it. These words are as true as words can be when we're trying to capture something as big as God. But ultimately, they're just words. The Bible has over 1,000 pages of stories and poems and histories and more that help us understand what God is like. And it's not like a Wikipedia article where we can just read it once and be done with it. The Bible is meant to be read over and over and over again, because the more we study it, the more God reveals God's self to us. That being said, no matter how much time we spend reading the Bible, there's a whole lot we don't know and may never know about what God is like. In fact, it seems like the more we study theology, the more blank spaces and mysteries we discover. But the weird thing about God is that the existence of mystery doesn't actually mean that something is wrong. You see, mystery is key to relationship. Relationships deepen because of a desire to know and to be known. So if we're studying scripture to get to know God as like a relational partner, it's what we don't know about God, the mysteries of who God really is, that draw us in. So I guess my point is, learn to love the mystery, because that's actually kind of the point of theology. Okay, yeah, but wandering through the Bible on your own can be really frustrating. And since theologians have been studying and interpreting scripture for thousands of years, isn't it also totally unnecessary? You're not wrong. So here's what I want to do. I want to start us off with a basic framework for answering the question, who is God? So to be clear, this is not the actual picture. God will be painting that self-portrait with you for your entire life. This framework is just a way of keeping us looking for God in the right places. So here it is. God is light, life, and love. We're going to go way deeper into this in the videos that follow. But to start off, here's what I mean. When I say God is light, I mean that God is the source of all truth and wisdom. If it's not true and it's not wise, it's not God. When I say that God is life, I mean that God is alive and the source of all life and flourishing. God is always for the flourishing of creation. And when I say God is love, I mean that God is all about relationship. God is the paradigm of perfect love and his very three-in-one way of being. But more on that in the next video. Now, I think this framework can be really helpful, but it's important to remember that this framework is just a framework. These videos are just a starting point. And the question, who is God, is absolutely not meant to be answered in a video series. The question, who is God, is a question to build your whole life around. And if you're ready to get started by digging a little deeper into that question, you are in a very good place.